Welcome back, you filthy exiles, and yeah, this is another community builds roundup. My apologies for not being online so much, unfortunately, just due to work commitments and things like that. I've been a bit away, but that being said, we've sort of got the streams on track, so we're now multicasting and correctly splitting the audio channels. So if you haven't checked out the live streams, make sure you do that. The next build I'm going to be running is going to be just a good old-fashioned Earth Shatter, massively tanky Titan, because I really just enjoy the warrior. But anyway, outside of that, we've got 5 builds here from various creators that are of various different levels of interesting. And it's good to see so many cool builds coming out in the community at the moment. In particular, I've seen, for example, the Lightning Thorns build, which we're going to feature here. And a bunch of others that are coming out almost daily from all different creators. So if you are a creator, you want to be featured on the channel, make sure you reach out to me, send me a build and a link to the video and whatnot. Otherwise, put a comment below if you've seen a cool build or something like that, and I'll reach out to you. But yeah, if you don't want to be featured on this list for any reason, just reach out and I'll post it. Happy to do that. But otherwise, welcome to another 5 community builds that you can try for the 0.3 Path of Exile 2 patch. Okay, so the first build that we've got to feature here is from Chaco Exile, and basically from his setup here, he is running a Witchhunter Blood Hunt configuration. Now, there is some infinite blood and poison tech, and we'll feature that later in the video. But for this one, basically, he does an enormous amount of life stack, and this is actually a really creative build. Does an enormous amount of life stack and get to about 9.6 thousand HP. Then uses a combination of things like Defiance of Destiny and whatnot to essentially become borderline immortal. Now, beyond that point, he's also stacking tons of other defense like Purity of Fire and different things like that, and obviously Sorcery Ward, which is one of the advantages of the Witchhunter. The big thing here is being able to essentially Corrupting Cry, and then you're going to then run around and blow enemies to smithereens using Blood Barrier. Now, some of the costs in this build are very min-maxed as well, but if you're looking for something that uses Kaom's Heart, or even something that potentially could come from this for another variation of this build, this is a really interesting build to look at. Now, obviously, he's got a very detailed guide. I've featured Chaco in the channel before, and his build is absolutely excellent. He is using it for Simulacrum in particular as well, and he's got some footage there of where he essentially runs through and does that too. Standard guide stuff, so he's got skill gem setups, equipment setups, skill tree setups, and all the jewel setups, and a bit of a discussion around that, so it's quite comprehensive, with obviously the POBs being provided for further reference, and he's got it noted that his Mobilytics is coming soon as well. But overall, really cool build, very different. It's good to see Witch Hunters coming out with, some really cool build tech. And yeah, this would be the first build that I'd feature on this list. Make sure you stop by his channel as well and drop him a like and a sub. And ask him any questions you've got around his build. I'm sure he'll happily provide responses because it is a very cool build. Okay, so build number 2, we're actually going to feature Inner Blaze, and this is a bleed bonk build, as he calls it. So obviously the Titan is by far one of the best ascendancies for scaling with hulking form on the actual ascendancy tree, which gives you another 50% of the actual skill point and extrapolates that out. So it gives you a ton of extra stuff, right? So this one is actually, so he actually, I believe, league started with this, so correct me if I'm wrong. So he's got a full leveling guide with this as well. If you want to know how this works, I'll put a link in the description below that for that as well. Now he's provided the POB as well for this one. But fundamentally how this is sort of set up is it's using Bone Shatter, and then it's just proccing a ton of bleed. And so basically you're going to go into endgame, you're going to tank absolutely everything, and then he actually uses Venopuncture as well, which is giving him a magnitude of chill as well, which is pretty cool. But overall, pretty much simple stuff here. Big hammer. Big hammer translates to big bleeds. Big bleeds with blood hunt equals enemies explode, and then that does a bit of AoE damage and then ripples through. Overall, really, really cool build. Super tanky. This is more so for like if you just want to sort of face tank into stuff, it'll take a little longer to kill things, but it does have some pretty mad lad level clear. So what he's basically provided is the full Act 1 through to 4 breakdown with all the interludes. So he's got that in his Mobilytics link, which he's actually done a way better job than I ever do in mine, to be honest with you. And then basically he's got a full level 91 budget version of the build. Now, you can take this build significantly further than what he's even got in the POB that he shows as well. So this is like a good point to get to before you start to min and max things. Now he says here too that this is budget, does go up to tier 2 pinnacle bosses without any problems. and he reckons it's less than 1 divine investment, though obviously bearing in mind that's going to be dependent on market fluctuation and changes and things like that too. Overall, these sorts of builds are really, really cool. Now, I just realized while I was doing this video that there is a bleed proc theme to this particular community build show list, and I'm just going to run into that and basically roll with it. But overall, another really cool build. It is definitely an off-meta build too. I'm not the biggest fan of like meta builds as an overall, though there is absolutely the place for them. I myself am probably going to do my Sunder and Earth Shatter build next, and then I'm going to move to an Ice Strike Monk and do some basic guides as well for that stuff, as well as mastering some League Start stuff and testing some new tech and things like that as you go. But overall, this is a really good build. If you just want a build that you can like freely tank around with and have a bit of fun and not get too invested in, this build should be the way to go. Also, bearing in mind that this is a pretty good build if you're going to play SSF, so there's no real uniques outside of the Venopuncture, and you could probably also change this out for different things as well, though it does give you a huge advantage. Venopuncture is a very, very common unique item, so that will drop throughout any sort of standard play too, so it wouldn't be uncommon to be able to run this in SSF, and it's sort of giving me some ideas for an SSF run as well, potentially even hardcore, because this is quite tanky too. Anyway, fantastic build, fantastic guide. Make sure you stop by Innerblazer's channel and check out his guide as well, and drop him a like and a sub. Overall, really well put together guide. Good work, dude. Rightio, so build number 3 is from Awesome GIO or Geo, and I sort of got linked this one and I went, Jesus, this is actually really, really cool. So it's the Violet Arc Chaser, and by the way, make sure you stop by and check out his channel. And drop him a like and a sub. This build deserves a lot of respect because this is absolutely off the chain. Basically, yeah, it is what it sounds like. Become the Arc. And basically what he's got going on here is he is using Black Flame Covenant with a combination of Arc as well as using Blood Mage and stacking tons of crit from what I can see. And the obvious thing is he's also running Spellslinger from the one that he's got. And yeah, he's just basically an Arc. He is the Arc. He goes and blows everything up, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Now he's using some Insta-Leech tech here with the series Acuity as well. So obviously with the amount of crit that he's running, he's also running Insta-Leech, and he does run the Life ES hybrid sort of configuration as well. But as an overall, this is just a fantastically awesome build. He does take advantage of the Brotherhood as well, Call the Brotherhood, which I've had a bunch of those drop and I didn't really know what to do with it, so it's definitely something worth looking at. Overall, about 19k EHP, so it's quite good. Now, overall on his build, he's got the POB linked in there. But he's also got like a sort of whole setup of running through every part of the build, from Blood Mage, Sustain through to bossing, weapon set 2 switching, things like that. So he has that going on, and if you do have a look in the weapon sets, there is a weapon switch in there, which I assume he has automated as well throughout his setup. Overall, really, really cool build. It's basically a mage version of Flicker Strike, and probably a more sustainable version of Flicker Strike as well. But as an overall, it looks really cool. And also, I just noticed in his comments, he's got a bunch of I guess, responses around how to fix certain problems, so an FAQ. So make sure you stop by his build on his channel. I'll put a link in the description so you can go and check it out yourself. Overall, really cool build, really cool concept. It's good to see some of this really crazy stuff coming out of Path of Exile 2. And it's definitely really changed the game for the better, I think, the 0.3 patch, and we're going to expect to see some absolutely nuts stuff into the next year, I reckon, with this game. Okay, so for build number 4, we've got an updated setup from Silly is Lily. So we featured this one in the League Starter curation list, and I thought it'd be a really good idea to come back and revise this. So they made the build work, and it's really, really cool. So obviously Ice Tomb got a huge change in the patch for 0.3, where we could gain Cold Thorns equal to about 22% or around that 20% mark of our maximum mana, right? And basically there was a theory build set up by Silly as Lily that talked about like how we could get mana stacking Thorns. Well, they've made the build. So same setup as any Thorns build. Crown of the Power King into Briar Patch are pretty much the 2 required uniques. But in this case, they're then going to stack an absolute ton of Thorns, which means things like Mana Remnants and things like that will apply to the overall build. Still the same setup with Rapid Assault, Quill Burst, all the usual sort of culprits for a build like this. But the big thing is the focus is to try and get as much mana into the build as possible. And then basically you're then going to then amplify that into Thorns damage, which then you're going to convert that into like overall Thorns damage, right? And you're going to scale that up with your overall Thorns damage. The POB for this one is quite wild. It goes through a lot of crit node POB and stuff like that. And obviously going into mana and mana sustain, and the Infernalist obviously has the biggest advantage with this, with the Ascendancy on the Infernalist. So the big thing here is, how do you make this work? Silly Azili's got a full written guide in the path of building for this. They've also got a Mobalytics page as well, which runs through absolutely everything. But obviously go back to the POB guide too. That's probably got the best information in there that I can see. So they do make a note that they may forget to update the Mobalytics video guide link as well. But as an overall, this is a really innovative build, and I really like this sort of stuff, especially with the uniques that are being added into Path of Exile 2. Power King or Crown of the Power King was something you couldn't even use in Path of Exile 1. It's like one of the most common build variations, and this build as an overall is really cool because Ice Tomb, again, used to be a unique in Path of Exile 1 that wasn't very good, and now it can be the core centerpiece to a build, and I really like that way of game design. But as an overall, make sure you check out the build. The link will be in the description to Silly Azili. Make sure you subscribe to their page. And yeah, overall, really cool build, really cool concept, and it's good to see it come into reality and fruition. So yeah, this would be build number 4 I'll feature on this list. Okay, so for the final build, this one is from Exiled Ratlord, and I really thought this was cool. This sort of fits into the whole bleed sort of theme of this video, to an element of it. So basically, this is the Infinite Herald of Blood build. Now, he's got a bit of a breakdown as to how this works. Basically, there is a synergy within Herald of Blood, which means you can't inflict bleeding with the Herald of Blood, but you can poison with it. And then you can use Plague Burst, and then you can then have that then explode and then cause poison and then bleeding, and basically it becomes almost like an infinite chain. And basically, yeah, that's what he's done. So he's got a full breakdown and configuration set up here. Now, my understanding is that this is a build that's going around, but Exiled Ratlord's done a fantastic job of explaining how it actually works. You could actually make this into somewhat of a an auto bomber build as well. So if you're doing simulacrums, if you can get tanky enough, then this build's the sort of build that could do it. Now, he does have a max roll GG guide that breaks everything down as to how it all works. It does use the constricting command, which is just, quite frankly, one of the best helms right now in the game, especially if you're in that sort of vicinity and area that you can get to it, which is a ritualist can. But as an overall, this is a super, super cool build. If you want something that's a little more chill, that's able to take some damage, but also able to just sort of work through things and clear things really well. I believe it does have some solid single target as well in it, but the biggest thing here is obviously the damage that it does to whole maps, just exploding entire maps and whatnot, which is really cool. I think there could be some other really cool stuff that we could do with this sort of setup. When, you know, you could ignite something and then convert that to like chill, and then have like, you know, I don't know, there's some other really cool things that we could probably do with that, playing around with damage over time configurations. But as an overall, really cool guide, really cool setup. Make sure you stop by his channel and drop him a like and a sub, because it is a very cool build. But yeah, this will be the last build that I'll feature on this list. Okay, so I hope these videos help you. If you're sort of narrowing down, you're getting bored with your build now, we're about 2 weeks into the league, and you want to play something different, then there's tons of different things out there that you can try. Even trying to find the next build that I want to play has been very hard for this exact reason. And these have given me some ideas, and a bunch of other things have given me ideas. But I think where I'm at is going back to some basics and doing some like one-hit mechanics on bosses and things like that. Everything that I've pretty much played to date's made it to at least tier 2 endgame bosses. Pinnacle bosses, that is. So yeah, and that's with like mediocre setups and skills that just don't have the same synergies. But yeah, there's just tons of unknown mechanics in this game right now. There are other builds that are going around running Whirling, I think it's Whirling Slash on the Smithic Katava as well, and proccing chaos damage, which are really cool and probably worth looking at. But if you've got a cool build idea or something that you've worked on, you've put a video out there, make sure you flick it through to me, and I'm happy to feature in the next video. And yeah, until next time, don't forget to like and sub to everyone on this list, and also to this channel, and make sure you check out the Twitch and all the other stuff. But I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.